Hello and welcome back to Commercial Radio. So today we're doing part 4 of 8, and today what we're looking at is promotions and competitions. We're just picking up where we left off in the previous lesson. So we're on lecture 4 of 8 for airtime, okay? And what you should know by now is you should understand the difference between sponsorship and branded content. You should understand that sponsorship can be broken down into 2 separate categories, which is and those categories are mandatory indicators and features. And if we look at the sponsorship underneath both of them, mandatory indicators are your news, your traffic, your sport, your weather, and your financial indicators. And all of those can be sponsored, okay? And then you get the sponsorship of features. And here we try and team a brand up with a specific feature so that the two are better aligned together. And with regards to the sponsorship of these, mandatory indicators have an airtime structure of a 10-second opening billboard at the beginning, a 10-second opening billboard at the end, so closing billboard, and a 30-second either generic spot or live read. Features normally have a sponsorship limit of a minimum of 6 weeks, and you can sponsor a feature for up to 1 year. When you sponsor a feature, there can be multiple elements involved in that sponsorship, so it can be multidimensional, meaning that some stations have web pages specifically dedicated to their feature content, where everything is posted in the form of a podcast, okay? So you can go and find any show that you've missed there. Or there might be an off-air event where you can go and attend the event and experience the content in person. Or there can be different media elements involved to enhance the overall impact of the campaign for the advertisers and the listeners. Branded content, on the other hand, is content that does not exist yet. So features and your mandatory indicators are content pieces that already exist. So you just come on board and sponsor them. Branded content doesn't exist yet. These are created specifically with a brand, okay? So between the station and the brand, these are co-created. So they are bespoke pieces, and normally a creative or a media agency will be involved here in the making of the content. Further, we looked at interviews in detail. I showed you a couple of examples. Okay, I showed you that Russell Brand interview to show you how not to conduct an interview. With regards to interviews, we said that they allow listeners to participate in a personal conversation. They are normally based on relevance, popularity, or newsworthiness of the person being interviewed. They're normally pre-approved by program managers. So interviews don't simply go on air. The reason for this is because advertisers often request interviews with senior executives, such as the chief marketing officers. And interviews form a critical part of content and programming. So it's important for stations to separate commercial interviews from core programming interviews. If a station would say yes to a particular interview, that normally means that the interview fits in with the general constraints that define when an interview would be allowed. So when I'm allowed to do a certain interview, or it forms part of a bigger commercial campaign. Interviews can be used to launch campaigns, to convey necessary information to the public, or to explain the partnership between a radio station and a brand. Alternatively, you also get them at the end of campaigns, to highlight what has been done, what work has been achieved, and to perhaps extend a thank you to the audience for participating. If you find interviews in the middle of campaigns, they normally provide a new piece of information or highlight a limited offer, or they'll offer a progress update, so progress on the campaign's goal, or they'll provide insight or advice regarding something that the station may have learned during the campaign. There are a few pointers that clients need to remember with regards to agreeing to an interview, and those are being aware of the audience, making sure that the information that's being put out on air is relevant, that they utilize suitable language, and that they give examples to explain. They need to be succinct, meaning they need to keep their messages brief and clear. They need to get the listeners to feel a connection. Okay, so focus on how the listeners should feel about a specific brand. Consider how to make them feel that way. And they shouldn't simply rely on the brand's existing reputation. Next, they need to be open to difficult questions. So they need to appear open and honest, and perhaps get listeners to call in with their questions to show that they're open to answering them. And lastly, use an approach that will resonate with the listeners. So they need to consider the audience, consider the radio station that they are doing the interview on and the radio station's tone, and lastly, consider their existing listener base. And from here, we will now move back to promotions and competitions, but we'll start looking at them more from a revenue point of view and less from a content point of view. So if you want to open your textbook, you can do so from page 344 to 347, Promotions and Competitions, chapter 9.6. In chapter 6, we spoke a lot about promotions and competitions as content and how they work on air. Okay, so remember FUBI. When we did FUBI, and you also needed to look at FUBI for me for your assignment. Okay, so that was chapter 6, where we looked at the content in detail. Here, what we're going to do now is we're going to look at how to generate revenue by running promotions and competitions. So it's all good and well that we have those with the content on air, but how do we now make money out of them? This type of on-air content is very valuable to advertisers and marketers because they drive engagement with listeners. Therefore, they focus attention on these segments, making it more likely that the listener will remember the brand advertised, and hopefully more likely that they will buy its products or services. Okay, so if I get you to buy into what I'm putting on air, you might be more open to buying my product or more likely to buy my product. In addition to this, promotions and competitions improve listener loyalty because listeners stand to be satisfied immediately, okay? Because they can immediately win a prize, or I can immediately get recognition on air or online. So obviously the first step would still be to start by creating that content, and you need to use FUBI when creating that content. So what is FUBI? FUBI stands for funny, useful, beautiful, bold, and inspiring. And why do we need to utilize FUBI? Because then you'll be more likely to establish a connection with the listener, which is what you want, especially in this kind of a context, because you are now going to try and sell a product to them through your promotions and your competitions. Now, so once you've developed a content-based promotion with the help of FUBI, your next step will be to take a careful look at the amount of time you will need to execute the promotion so that you can achieve the goals that have been set. A large-scale promotion that utilizes a lot of other types of media, so something like, for instance, a big festival or a big concert or some sort of outdoor event, will require at least 3 months, okay? So literally 3 months for listeners to commit to buying the tickets and for them to have enough time to actually pay for the tickets. So if you're doing a very big festival, so you might have heard whenever 947 advertises their 947 Huawei Day, they advertise it for a couple of months in advance. The same with any big festival or any big concert that radio stations put on. They do start advertising them months in advance already. When it comes to a little bit of a smaller promotion, so a prize giveaway or a talent appearance, you can build 2 or 3 weeks into your plan. So you don't have to put as much time into it as you would for a big festival. If you give yourself 2 to 3 weeks time, this will be enough time to create a general hype and to ensure that the all-important giveaway moment is an exciting piece of content for the listeners. Each promotion needs to be intrinsically linked to how much advertising revenue it will generate. So every piece of promotion needs to be linked to how much money it will bring in. Think about it in such a way. So think about it like every one of your promotions should have a price tag attached to it for the client, okay? You also need to do whatever it takes to ensure that the promotion runs smoothly and achieves the goals that were promised to the client. There's no amount of detail in this that's too much in the plotting of a promotion. Every moment that is communicated on any platform should be planned out with a checklist in order to ensure that the promotion goes according to what was promised to the client and delivers its output successfully. So anything that you do for this promotion that goes on air needs to be on a checklist and needs to be part of what was promised to your client at the end of the day. When it comes to competition packages, it should consist of 3 segments. Your pre-competition promotion, your on-air promotion or your on-now promotion, and your post-competition promotion. So those are your 3 phases. If you think about the word pre-competition promotion, okay, so pre means before. So this is the promotion that you start doing prior to the actual competition running. Like we said earlier, it could be 3 months in advance, depending on if it's a festival. It could be 2 to 3 weeks in advance if it's a smaller campaign or a competition. So this pre-competition promotion includes approximately a week of short live reads or pre-recorded promotions that project forward to the week when the competition will be executed. Normally, how we would do it, let's say you wanted to start this 3 weeks in advance. How you would do it is you would have like a full 30-second that will be playing. Then you would cut it down to smaller ones, let's say to a 20-second, and you might end up with a 10-second right before the thing happens. That will purely depend on the program manager, the type of promotion that you are doing, the type of competition that it might be, okay? Also, a lot of clients don't have really big budgets, so they might end up only doing a week of short live reads or pre-recorded promotions prior to the actual campaign starting. Why do we do this? Why do we play pre-competition promotions? Because it builds the audience up to listen out for the competition, and it provides a window of time for the audience to enter or for the audience to be pre-screened if that's necessary. Every competition moment is also pre-screened to keep the content flowing and to ensure that participants are ready and able to participate. It's important to prevent situations where participants waste a lot of time, because where participants waste a lot of time because they're caught off guard on air, or they're not sure what to say. Therefore, you need to pre-screen your callers to prepare them for being contacted by the radio station and for participating in the competition itself. So this is one reason for a pre-screen, but another reason would be that certain products or services require radio stations to pre-screen people for their validity and legitimacy. So for example, a competition run by a bank might require someone to be an account holder already at the bank. Or a competition that's run by a car company might require the winner to have a valid driver's license. A competition by an alcohol company would require the winner to be over the age of 18. And a competition by a travel agency will require the listener to have a valid passport. So there's a lot of different reasons why pre-screening might be extremely important. If I were to give you an example for a pre-competition promotion, for a travel agency, it might go something like, next week we are giving away 5 trips to Zanzibar. If you have a valid passport and are over the age of 18, then visit travelco.co.za to register now, and you could win with us on the amazing show next week. Okay, so that was an example of a pre-competition promotion. What did we do there? We gave them some information about what is going to be happening next week. So we were enticing them and already telling them that they can go and look at the website. Perhaps they can register there already and get that pre-screen done to see if they can actually be entered into the competition. So now what I've done is I've sent people to the website. I've sent them to go and have a look, okay? That means that the rules and restrictions of the competition need to be clear, made clear to the listeners. They need to be on the website. Okay, so your rules and regulations always need to be accessible to anyone who might have missed them on air, or someone who might want to confirm them. So along with posting them on the website, they can be posted on social media and made available from the help desk. Another really important thing to remember is that you need to ensure that you have the prizes secured before the start of your campaign or your competition. And you need to confirm with your sponsor that the prizes won't expire, or that they won't change, or that they won't become unavailable for some reason before they can be distributed. So for example, if the prize is a car, you need to confirm exactly what make and model the car would be, and that the provider has set a car aside specifically for this competition, and also how the listener will be getting the car at the end of the day. A lot of radio stations have a rule that the competition cannot start on air if the prizes have not been delivered. Because in the past, there have been quite a few issues with this kind of stuff. So some radio stations won't always have the prizes, and then they would start with their competition. And then what would happen is listeners would rock up at the radio station to collect their prize, obviously very excited about it. And then there's issues because they don't have it yet, or that specific prize is not available anymore. And then it makes you as a radio station seem unreliable. Okay, it breaks the presenters, it breaks the listeners' trust in you, in the brand. I've worked for a company before where there was an issue like this with regards to money. And luckily it was sorted out at the end of the day, but it still took a lot of smoothing over with the brand and the radio station, because there was a lot of negative publicity that ended up happening around this. So always ensure that you have secured the prizes prior to your competition starting on air, and confirm that the prizes won't expire, change, or become unavailable. Next, we get to the actual promotion. So now we've done our pre-advertising. Okay, so we've run the promotion. We've told you what will be happening. We've told you where you can go and look at the T's and C's and what we will need from you. Now it's the actual competition week. During this week, there should still be promotions running on air to encourage people who have entered unsuccessfully to try again, or to try the following day, or to motivate people who haven't entered yet to enter the competition. So here, this may include replaying recordings of on-air winners, or publicly congratulating off-air winners, okay? Why? Because you're still trying to create that hype. So if we looked at an example, so let's stick to the travel agency example. So we've looked at a pre-competition promotion. So if we looked at an example of an on-air promotion, it could be something like, congratulations to KG, our winner for today. She's headed to Zanzibar this summer thanks to Travelco. If you didn't win today, you still have a chance to win with Nick later today or with Karabo tomorrow morning. Don't give up. Make sure you've registered on travelco.co.za and try again. Okay, so here I'm telling you who won, and I'm giving you another chance to try again. It's during this period that the competition entry process is also executed on air during the relevant shows. Whether this is listeners calling in to answer questions or games being played between listeners and on-air teams in the studio, the On Now campaign period is usually supported by both the radio station and the client's social media pages and web platforms. So during this week, everyone will be talking about the game, the competition, the whatever it might be. Okay, so now we've had our competition week. We've had our 5 winners who are going to Zanzibar. It was a really successful campaign. We got a lot of different entries. Now something that we can do is a post-competition promotion. It's not something that will take place every single time after a competition, okay? But if you've had a particularly successful campaign and there was a lot of hype caused around your specific campaign, you'd probably do a post-competition promotion. And here what the station might do is they'll often package highlights from the competition, so run them the week after the competition has taken place. This further provides exposure and relevant brand associations for the client after their live on-air element has ended, and it shows the listeners how the radio station rewards them. An example of a post-competition promotion might look as follows. Last week, KG won 1 million rand, and then there will be an audio clip of KG screaming and crying, and KG's family in the background screaming along, and then it'll go back to the clip. She plans to treat her family to a holiday operated by Travelco and will put the rest of the money away for her 2 sons' university education. And then there might be a clip of where she speaks about how both her sons want to become doctors, and she was really unsure about how she would pay for their education. And then if you go back to the clip, we are so thrilled for you, KG. Congratulations. Don't forget, you could win just like KG. Keep an eye on our Twitter feed to get a heads up on when our next exciting competition starts. This post-competition promotion should last for a few days after the competition closes in order to ensure that any listeners who don't listen at the same time every day are aware that the competition has come to a close. The promotion can also be covered on the website and the social media pages to reach as wide of an audience as possible and to generate interest in future events, because you want people to talk about the cool competitions and the cool giveaways that a radio station does. We've now had 3 different phases, okay? So we've had pre-competition promotions, we've had on-air promotion, and then we've had the post-competition promotion. And throughout all 3 of these competition phases, and throughout all 3 of these phases of the competition period, there will be agreed upon 30-second generic spots that will run in support of the promotion. So you will have a separate schedule specifically for 30-second spots, generic 30-second spots that will run throughout the promotion. In this case, it'll run for all 3 weeks. How a commercial radio station would function in an instance like this is that they would have a plan up to a certain value that they'll offer the client as part of the competition package, so that the client can communicate their brand messaging and product or service promotion over the same period of time as the competition. So this 30-second generic won't advertise the specific competition that we've been running. So if it was this travel company that was giving away the prize to Zanzibar, it won't be this Zanzibar prize specifically that they'll be mentioning in this 30-second. It could be just overall brand messaging about them, or just about more information about where to find them, or about an overall specific promotion that they might be running, or whatever it might be, okay? So they could be advertising the brand messaging or a specific product or a specific service that they offer. What this thing does is this further enforces the brand's messaging in the minds of the audience. So you're not only focusing on one specific element of this brand now, you are now bringing in an extra element that you're telling the audience about and enforcing the brand's messaging in the minds of the listeners. So that is a competition with the promotions from a revenue point of view. And to summarize, the elements that could be used in a competition package include the following. So your pre-competition promos or spots, your on-now competition promos or spots, your actual competition requirements, so your live on-now execution, so your competition and winner moments every single day, if it's a week-long competition, your interviews, if relevant, generic spots, okay, that we just mentioned, that'll run throughout the campaign, and digital support. So whether it's a web banner or competition pages or a digital entry form or tweets or Facebook posts or shares or likes or whatever it might be, okay? So all of this will make up a competition campaign. From here now, what we're going to be looking at in the next lecture is power spots and brand ambassadors, and see how they will fit into the overall, and see where they fit into airtime, okay? And that brings me to your homework. What I want from you is to focus on trying to write a promotion, but an excitable promotion, okay? So I want you to practice writing promotions by using the example on page 346. So the example about Zanzibar, okay, about winning a trip to Zanzibar, and to see what you can come up with. So that's your homework for me. And that brings me to the end of this lecture today. All right. So just to recap briefly what we spoke about today. We said that promotions and competitions improve listener loyalty because listeners stand to be satisfied immediately, either by winning a prize or achieving recognition on air or online. We recapped on FOBI, and I asked you to remember to utilize FOBI when you're developing your content-based promotion. And then you need to look at the type of competition, the type of campaign that it is you will be running, and how much time you need to promote it, okay? So big festival or concert, about 3 months. Smaller promotion, like only a giveaway or a talent appearance, about 2 to 3 weeks. Each promotion needs to be linked to how much advertising revenue it will generate. Each promotion should have a price tag attached to it for the client. No amount of detail is too much in the plotting of a promotion. Every on-air moment should be planned out with a checklist. And this will then ensure that the promotion goes according to what was promised to the client. You get a pre-competition promotion, an on-air promotion, and a post-competition promotion. The pre-competition promotion could be a live read or a pre-recorded promotion that will speak about the competition that will be executed in the following week. This builds the audience up to listen out for the competition, and it provides a window of time for listeners to enter and for participants to be pre-screened. We mentioned that pre-screening is important for various different reasons, depending on the brand. Then we mentioned that you need to ensure that prizes are at the station prior to the competition running, or you need to make 100% sure that prizes won't expire, won't change, and won't become unavailable. Your on-air promotion is the actual week of the competition, where you are still running promos to encourage people who didn't win to enter again, to try again, and to motivate people who haven't entered yet to try. This is also the week in which the actual competition will take place. And here, both the client and the radio station, social media and web platforms will also normally speak about this competition. And then you get your post-competition promotion, which will be done if we had a particularly successful campaign that caused a lot of hype and a lot of word of mouth around it. Okay, so then you will package highlights around the competition and run them afterwards. This gives you further brand exposure and brand associations for the client. It shows the listener how the station rewards them. And it also ensures that listeners who haven't been listening or who don't listen every day at the same time are aware that the competition has ended. And then along with these promotions throughout your campaign, there will be 30-second generic spots that will be running to support the promotion. And with that, it brings me to the end of this lecture. So please go and try your hand at writing promotions, okay? See what you can come up with. See how exciting you can make it. Try different ones. So try from a 30-second promotion to a 20-second to a 10-second, all right? And then the next time I see you, we will be talking about power spots and brand ambassadors. So until then, I say goodbye.